There are 5 stages to artificial intelligence, and most people only know of level 1, the large language model. This is ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. You ask, it answers. Most people think this is AI, but in reality, this is just the foundation. The next stage is where things get interesting. This is where you can give AI a job. Not answer this question, but go do this thing for me. This is agentic AI, and this is where we are right now. But now imagine that it's not one agent, but 20. One researches, one writes, another publishes. They delegate to each other, and there's no human involved at all. The infrastructure for this technology is being laid right now. Then there's the big one. AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence. This is essentially what everyone's racing to achieve. But the fascinating part is that experts can't even agree on whether or not we have already reached it. This is when AI can match or exceed human cognition. It can reason like a scientist, create like an artist, strategize like a CEO, but not because it was trained to do so, because it learned it on its own. And the final stage is super intelligence, the AI that surpasses human intelligence. It doesn't need our help. It doesn't need our input. It solves problems that we have spent centuries stuck on: disease, energy, physics that we can't even comprehend yet. But the question is, if and when we ever reach this final stage, is it going to be the best thing that's ever happened to humankind, or the most destructive?
That's a good question. So if it can learn on its own, what's the phrase they use? Well, the name they use, it becoming sentient, meaning it becoming its own thing. How long before it turns into Skynet and destroys us all? For real. You say we're at one point, but the thing that they're mostly working on is making sure that this thing can think on its own and learn on its own. It just sounds too much like Terminator and Terminator 2.
Why are we trying to build AI systems that are duplicative of humans? We're kind of having this conversation right now where we've just taken the premise of this industry as a good thing. Like, they said that we should be building AGI, so we say that we should be building AGI. But I would like to ask, like, why are we doing that? Why is it that we are building a technology that is ultimately designed to replace and automate people away? That is not the enterprise of technology. Like, we should be building technology, and the purpose of technology throughout history has been to improve human flourishing, not to replace people. Is this the right goal? Why are we doing this? Why can't we just build AI systems that do things like accelerate drug discovery and improve people's healthcare outcomes, which are systems that have nothing to do with the statistical engines that they're trying to build to duplicate the human brain?
Well, see, like accelerating the drugs, as far as like developing more and more good drugs or whatnot, I'm half in, half out on that because, well, it's a whole nother system involved with that, so that's crazy. But I do understand her point, because we should be working on things that help us. Yes, I've already, I wouldn't say I've gotten comfortable with it, but I understand that, because the people that run the programs that make pharmaceuticals, their job is not to cure you. Their job is to make sure that you're dependent on them for as long as you have to be. So I understand that part, but there are other things that we can be doing. We can start talking about why we don't really try to save people some other time. But let's get back to this.
You think they're doing it?
I think it's because they're driven by an imperial agenda, and that is why I call these companies empires of AI.
From a manufacturing plant in India, all these factory workers are wearing head-mounted cameras on the job. So now every hand movement is all being recorded in real time. My guess is it's the trained robots that are eventually going to replace them. Now, a few weeks ago, I covered how DoorDash is paying couriers now to film themselves doing everyday physical tasks for AI training. And at the time, you were probably like, that looks relatively harmless, right? But this is a step change. These are factory workers now being instrumented in their actual jobs so that every fine motor skill, every movement pattern, every real-world workflow on a manufacturing floor is getting fed directly into the models that are training robots that will eventually replace them. And here's the critical difference now. Up until now, robotics AI was usually trained in these controlled lab environments, like the ideal conditions for the outcomes. But that system doesn't really scale, and so the data has a ceiling to it. It also doesn't capture data that's happening on these messy, unpredictable factory floors. But this first-person data does, and that's going to change how fast these models can actually learn now.
Whoa. So sometimes when I do DoorDash, it'll ask you to take a picture of the aisle where you actually got the item from. And I didn't think about it that way. I didn't know that they were actually training an AI. I felt like, they were trying to make it more efficient for them, because a lot of times when you do pop up an item or you're shopping for an item in a store, it'll show you the picture of the aisle where it's supposed to be. So I thought that was why they was using it, but I didn't know that they was actually training the AI also. It's crazy.
Cars just clogging up a neighborhood cul-de-sac. The people living in the Northwest Atlanta neighborhood say dozens end up circling their community. Channel 2 Steve Gelbach is on one street where they want the Waymos to stop.
It's almost every little cul-de-sac around our area, so I think it's a real problem.
Waymo after Waymo after Waymo enter this dead-end street, usually early in the morning.
I think yesterday morning we had 50 cars that came through between 6 and 7.
Neighbors on Battleview Drive started seeing the autonomous, driverless cars 2 months ago, but the groupings and large number of Waymos just started circling in and out in the last couple weeks. They even shared video with us when neighbors used this little guy to put him right out here in the street to block the Waymos from getting into the cul-de-sac, and you can imagine what happened next.
And we had at one point 8 Waymos that were stuck trying to figure out how to turn around.
The Waymos are empty and not picking anyone up, and parents are worried, not only calling it excessive, but dangerous.
We're families, we have small kids, we have animals and pets, we've got kids getting on the bus in the mornings, and it just doesn't feel safe to have that traffic.
Neighbors reached out to Waymo and have not got a response. They've also contacted their council member, representatives, and GDOT, and don't know what to do.
We would just like to see them stay on main traffic roads. I don't think there's any reason to be on small residential cul-de-sacs if they're not picking up somebody.
So I could see this happening because I just watched either it was like a mini series or a movie where it was supposed to be like the end of the world. These people was going to this other person that they know. Well, I don't even think it was like an Airbnb. They didn't know the people. It was like an Airbnb, but turns out the people came back to their house or whatnot, and it was something going on. It was like the end of the world, but all these Tesla cars just kept coming to where they were. And they was just all lined up, just crashing into each other. Yo, it's getting... I ain't gonna talk about how close I think it's getting, but I just think it's getting close. Let's move on.
I'm a 33rd degree Freemason. I get a copy of the New World Order every month so I can vote on the things I want to stay the same and the things I want to change. I'm gonna tell y'all this, but I know y'all not gonna believe me. Antarctica is a freezer. And I know y'all gonna be like, we know it's a freezer. It's always cold. No, it's a man-made freezer. The reason why it's made to be so cold year-round is because there are titans or kaiju that live miles and miles underneath the ice. And they believe that those frigid temperatures will keep those titans and kaijus completely immobile from carrying out what people would believe is Armageddon or the last days. So the government strategically places polar bears all throughout Antarctica, which is why polar bears are one of the few mammals that actively hunt and consume human beings.
Now, I'm not going to jump out the window and say, well, hey, man, I think he's on to something. But I think he's on to something. But no, it is crazy that, but then again, that's not, I don't track with the polar bear thing because it's something dangerous in every part of the world. Okay, so I don't track with that one. And I don't believe that the polar bear is the only thing out there that's dangerous. You got other animals out there, I'm sure you got mountain lions and goats that stand up on the sides of on the sides of mountains. I mean, are you serious? They dangerous. Don't get it conflicted. but I just don't. I don't track with that last one. Not all of it. I have heard. I've heard more than one thing about the government. Well, not the government, but because Antarctica was frozen long before the government got hold to it. But I've heard it said before on other platforms or on other things I've watched that yes, something had frozen Antarctica because something else lives there and is trying to keep it frozen. Okay, if that's how you keep something dormant, yeah, but I also think we've been watching too much Transformers sometimes too. But if you stay to this point, family, I appreciate you. Like if you like the video. Subscribe if you want to come back for more, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again. Salute.